자, 이번에는 이제 저번에 보려고도 말았던 톰붐 스토리보드에 관련돼서 한번 보도록 하겠습니다. 자, 일단은 톰붐을 하게 되면 일단은 이제 요런 부분으로 들어가요. 예, 들어가는데 뭐 하모니도 있고 스토리보드 프로도 있어요. 자, 잠깐만요. 제가 지금 뭘 봤냐면 스킬이 있네요. 한번 볼게요. 다섯 개 모듈이 있대요. 이게 뭐 자료를 다운받는 게 있는데 일단은 자료를 어떻게 다운받나요? 예, 156메가 정도 되니까 한번 다운을 받아 보겠습니다. 이제 여러분들 같은 경우는 스토리보드 프로로 사용하는 것도 아마 많이 도움이 될 텐데요. 그러니까 졸작하는 친구들을 얘기를 하는 거예요. 일단은 이거를 클릭하면 뭐가 나오나요? 뭐 연동이 되나요? 파일이니까 여기서 이렇게 만들어지는 것들을 얘기를 하는군요. 이렇게 만들어지고 지금 요거는 하나하나 지금 배경을 또 없앨 수도 있고, 그죠? 어쨌든 지금 요거는 그냥 파일을 받아서 이제 볼 수 있게끔 되는 개념이군요. 그러면은 지금 뭐 그리기 향상이라 그러는데 한번 봅시다. 이것도 새로운 기능도 일단 이것도 그런가요? 아까 이거하고는 좀 같은 건가요? 여기서 보시면 문건이 있네요. 문건이 있어서 그리기를 한다. 뭐 필드 정하는 거, 비트맵 안내선 하는 것들이 쭉 있고요. 그 다음에 이건 아까 그랑 비슷한 것 같아요. 아까 받았던 걸 또 받았나요? 새로운 스킨 모드 보면 한번 볼게요.
Hi everybody, my name is Kim and in this video I'm going to be showing you the new onion skin modes in Storyboard Pro 20. I have my scene set up over here and I'm going to activate my onion skin so that we can see the next and previous drawings in the sequence. And then I'm going to go to my preferences so that we can take a look at what has been added for the onion skin. I'm going to make sure that I go to my camera tab and
여기서 지금 스토리보드를 클릭을 했고 여기서 프로젝트 생성 및 설정 방법 프로젝트 만드는 방법 영상들이 다 있어요. 이걸 하나씩 볼까요? 잠깐만요. 이게 지금
Let's create a brand new project in Toon Boom Storyboard Pro. The first thing we want to do is open up the program, and I'm going to do that by finding the desktop icon and double-clicking it. You can also open up the project from your Applications folder. You'll find links to the Toon Boom website here where you can find learning tools, information on new features, and links to the Toon Boom communities and forums. Alright, I'm just going to press close. And the next thing that we see is the screen where we're going
맨
to
처음에 이제
create our
문서를
new
만드는
project.
거겠죠?
The first thing we'll do is give our new project a name. So I'm just going to call this first project. And below that are other things that you can fill out if you want your Storyboard Pro project file to be stored in a specific place. Then you can use the Browse button to find a different location on your computer. You'll notice project title is automatically filled in with the same thing that you typed in under project name, but you do have the option to change that to something else. But every project needs a project name and a project title. You can also add an optional subtitle. Underneath that, you can choose the project resolution. There's a bunch of different presets here. So now that we've named it, let's just press the button to create project. And what we're looking at now is the main Toon Boom Storyboard Pro interface. There are toolbars on the left side and on the top. This area here is our drawing area. In this case, it's called the stage view. Our layers are over here, and if you don't see this column, all you need to do is to click on that double arrow, because this layers column pops in and out depending on whether you want to see that.
아까
Over here
보시면
are
뭐
the various palettes. We have
배경
one for panel
관련돼서도
information.
자기가 넣을
The
수가
storyboard
있겠죠.
tab can contain the script. Tool properties is the tab we'll be working in most often, and a tab for library assets that you can reuse. Below that is an area that displays the thumbnail versions of all the panels that you're working on. I'm going to close this project so I can show you how to open up a
지금
project that you've
여러분들도
already
저희
started working on.
그
So we click there to
요즘은
close.
사실은 프로그램들은 자기가 좀만 신경 쓰면 다 들어가서 볼 수가 있어요. 자료들이 옛날하고 달리 굉장히 잘 정리가 돼서 나오고 있어요.
The application opens up. I'm going to close the welcome screen, and now you'll have a list of recent projects, and all you need to do there is click one click on the name of that project, and it's also going to open up. Another way to open the program is by going into a folder where you have a project that you've already created. Click on the name of the project, and inside you'll find a folder, and the item that you're looking to click is the name of the project followed by .sboard, and you can recognize that file because it has a little Toon Boom icon next to it. So in this case, I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to watch that particular project open up. So this is the one we just started, and this is the project that we are going to be working in throughout the rest of this
기본적으로 이제
tutorial.
폴더에 들어가게 되네요.
One of the first things that we can look at when we open Storyboard Pro 20
요거는 뭐
is obviously the
만드는
splash screen.
부분이고요. 아까 했던 거니까
You can see big windows which
조금
allows you
스킵할게요.
final draft. We're going to use that as a background. I'm going to put it at the back here. Anything that you create or that you bring inside of Storyboard Pro can be saved into the library.
이분은 그냥 그 백그라운드를 그 왼쪽 오른쪽 상단에 이렇게 좀 가지고 있네요. 그죠?
And for instance, and that can be anything. It can be a single drawing, it can be a scene, it can be a video, it can be, you know, an image with multi-layers, it can be sounds, anything at all. And throughout this demonstration, you will see me actually bringing elements inside our board. And for instance here, we brought in the flat desert. Okay, so here we've got the flat desert, and we're going to use that as a background. I'm going to put it at the back here. As you can see, we've got layers within our board as well, within the drawing area. And you can have as many layers.
애니메이션 창작하는 데서는 그 스토리보드를 되게 많이 써요. 쓰는데 뭐 다 쓰는 건 아니고 일단은 기획하시는 분들 쪽에서 많이 좀 쓰죠.
my drawing skills are
그러니까
slightly
옛날식의 패턴으로 여러분들이 그 특정한 것만 사용한다 그래서는 안 돼요. 예.
with Storyboard Pro, it is very, very easy to use, and you can actually get to a pretty good result, not even if you don't have amazing drawing skills, and you can still create your board. Okay, so we brought our two elements. Now let's go into the drawing tools. So in terms of the drawing, all the tools that we need on the side here.
지금 이제
and we've got
이거 좀 계속 듣는 시간을 좀 가질게요.
We've got the vector engine and we've got the bitmap engine, and both can cohabitate in the same drawing, in the same panel, in the same project, very, very easily, and you can create vector and bitmap. You can import vector and bitmap inside of Storyboard Pro.
그 여러분들이 들어가서 이제 보시면은 아마 충분히 볼 수 있을 것 같고요.
In Storyboard Pro 20, the pivot point will always stay within the selection of the like this. This is a brush line here. Up over here, the fact that you can
좀 벡터 방식으로 좀 가네요.
texture of your choice there, and you can do that over several lines. You can select several lines at the same time, and you can obviously with the Storyboard Pro 20. Okay, so let's drag and drop it over here, take away the auto light table, and you can see that my bitmap layer, which is engines or bitmap softwares, use the stable file that 16 by 9. It's still quite
좀 스킵을 좀
that's
할게요.
all you need to do. And then distance is random as well, 1 of 1 for the moment. In our races, right? Because this is a race, so we're going to drag and drop our races onto that same scene, and you will see that we've got our races. So there's Nash there, edging forward ahead. You can create it on a separate layer, on the same layer. We're going to create it on a separate layer, and click OK. And as you can see,
녹음
it's now generated a map for our layer.
상태가 좀 좋지
By the way, you
않은데요?
could do that on several panels at the same time by selecting all of them on the same layer on several panels, and also
되게 많네요. 그 스토리보드 관련돼서.
So now we've got our mat, which is on a separate layer, and I'm going to show you a brand new tool in Storyboard Pro 20, which allows you to do some shading on certain layers. And that tool is now called the stencil brush. The stencil brush, if you go into the
좀 짧은 거를 좀 볼게요. 이건 너무 좀 길어서.
Here, boy. Enjoy your meal. Here, boy. What a fine day at the beach. Yes, a fine day indeed. This is unacceptable.
down to the last lap of the annual race around the moon. This has been one more bob of a race, folks, and after a few mishaps, we have 3 racers still determined to make the finish. Currently in the lead is Nash Calloway, who's made some rather underhanded moves in the last few laps to get ahead. Followed close behind by Minky Golden, and the rest of the exacting mind of Diane Moore, and a fierce competitor throughout the race. Just behind her by a hair is techno genius Slawala. The who got the name for you, folks? He's about as speedy as they come.
Nice move, Minky. But look who's about to pass you.
Well, our news is here I thought you'd race. Later, suckers. It's leg 2 of the race, as the racers head from the canyons into the maze trunk forest. Be careful, racers. Just because you've been through it before doesn't mean it's the same this time. As the racers drive onward, Slowala is really showing his versatility here. Maze trunk, am I right, folks? Meanwhile, Minky has hit her stride in the jungle, taking full advantage of her custom propulsion system. Nash Calloway, on the other hand, seems to be losing crucial ground to his competitors from the winding, uneven terrain. He's got to pull out all the stops if he's going to stay in the lead. Be careful, racers. Just because you've been through it before. Shortcut! Yeah! As the racers drive onward, the car is really
Later, Calloway. Maybe we'll see you at the finish line.
Am I right, folks?
In a few days.
Meanwhile, Minky has hit her stride in the jungle, taking full advantage of her custom propulsion system. Nash Calloway, on the other hand, seems to be losing crucial ground to his competitors from the winding. Got to pull out all the stops if he's going to stay. On to leg 3, as Minky and Slowala emerge from the jungle and approach the hydrodynamic portion of the race. And what's this? No Nash Calloway? Looks like they've awakened the Daxamor's beast. What a race!
Nash, what did you do?
What is that thing?
Just drive! We'll lose the water!
Phew. Looks like we did lose it at the water.
You boys were saying?
What do we do?
Okay, our only chance is to get through the little...
Too late! You boys were saying?
Buster! Buster! Hey kids, are you listening? Buster! There you are!
Okay, our only chance is to get through the...
Well, sorry old Buster here spoiled your race. Well, how can I make it up to you big crooked racers?
I love races and all, but this part of the race is my favorite. Ah!
There's a nice emotional moment here toward the end of scene 2, and I'd like to get closer to that, so I have the choice of making another cut or just to make a camera move to move in closer. So I'm choosing to make a camera move on this panel, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. The first thing I like to do is to duplicate the panel with a camera move. To duplicate this panel, I will select the panel, come up to the storyboard toolbar, and click on Duplicate Selected Panels. So now I have the bird has landed. This is the panel where I'm going to put in the camera move. Slide this slider bar over so I can see the panel better. To create a camera move, the first thing you want to do is come over to the toolbar and select the camera tool. Click on that, and you can see that the box has changed to a camera box that I'm going to be able to change its size. Because there's going to be a start and a stop position, I need to use the keyframes, and you'll find those here under Tool Properties. The short and easy way to create a camera move is to simply click on the first button that says Add Keyframe to the beginning of the current panel, and click on the second keyframe button, which is Add Keyframe at the end of the current panel. So now you have two different keyframes. I'm going to press undo so that you can see that after I added the first keyframe, the box turned green. That's to indicate the go position of the camera. And when I added the keyframe at the end of the current panel, the box turned red to represent the stop position. And right now, the stop position is laying right on top of the start position, so you can't see both boxes at the same time. But you can, at the bottom, see these squares which represent the two different keyframes. This green one represents the start keyframe, and if I click on it, you will see the box turn to green, because now I have selected the keyframe at the beginning of the panel. And by clicking on the red, the box turns red to indicate that I've selected the keyframe at the end of the panel. So I want to move the end camera pose because I'm fine with the way it starts out at the beginning, but I want to move it closer at the end. I'd like to sometimes sketch in on a new layer the box where I think I want it to be, and this helps me. The stop position. And right now, the stop position is laying right on top of the start position, so you can't see both boxes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay Noller. I'm working for Toon Boom as one of their senior solutions specialists. I love rigging. I've been rigging for almost 10 years. I'm so excited to be here. I hope that you are as well. I'm really hoping to show some really cool things that Harmony can do with rigs. And I'm so happy that we got people's submissions. That's really exciting. I can't wait to show them to you. We've got a couple. We got quite a few actually. I chose a couple, and I hope that you guys learn a little bit more about what you're doing.
잠깐만요. 딴 게 또
Really
뭐가
appreciate what
있나
we're doing
좀
here.
볼게요.
And so thank.
It's starting in 5.
Hello, everybody.
3, 2,
My name
1.
is Lindsay Noller. I'm working for Toon Boom as one of their
안녕하세요.
senior
저는
solutions
한국에서
specialists.
일러스트 작
Storyboarding is a hard job, ranging from cinematography, acting, and a bit of animation. Altogether, they form the visual structure of the sequence, whether it's to tell a story the best way it can through visuals, or to lay out the foundation for other departments such as animation, character design, and background art. I've storyboarded for both feature animation and TV animation, and based on my years of experiences, I want to share you some tips that I've learned from professionals before me and how they're able
그리고
to
이제 하모니도 같은 회사인데요.
economically and
You
enough
guys
for
learn
a
a little bit
deadline.
more about what you're doing, and really appreciate what we're doing here. And so thank.
It's starting in 5, 4.
Hey guys, it's Nico Pantula, and today I'd like to talk about how you can board faster, smarter, and economically with these tips. Whether you're boarding a small scene, an animated feature, an animated show, maybe it's for a short, maybe it's for live action, or maybe the cutscenes for video games, or maybe you're trying to pitch a product, whatever it is. Storyboarding is a great way to pitch those ideas. You want to be able to have a few tools and tips that can help you board efficiently while using those same tools and tips for future projects or future storyboard work. I'm going to divide this talk into 3 different segments. The first one being what you might want to have beforehand, the second is the planning stage, and the third being the actual execution or the actual boarding process. The first thing that you might want to do is to have your scene in a written form, and preferably in screenplay format. Now, there's several reasons why I would suggest the screenplay format, and the most notable is that it represents more of what you're seeing on screen in terms of how it's paced and how it's formatted. There's a certain rule or tip that a lot of people like to follow, which is 1 page of screenplay represents 1 minute of film. And you can actually use this as a guideline in terms of how you pace out or board out your scenes. I'll talk more about that soon. Even if your boards are board driven, meaning that there's no actual script or screenplay, I think it's a good practice to have something written down so you know how to structure out your boards. If you want to focus more on atmosphere or some gags, write them down so they act as beats for you to hit when you actually board it out. I remember story artist and director Simon Wells gave a talk about his process at DreamWorks, where even though he didn't follow a screenplay format, he would actually write those specific shots down, such as writing, like describing the angle, the close-up, very specific camera notes for him to draw out. Speaking of planning, there's another side that you might want to start considering, and this is something that I learned from feature animation as a trainee, which is to really think about what your scene is about. When me and a few friends were trainees at DreamWorks, we were each given a scene to board out, but we all tried to show off everything of what we can do as story artists. We tried to put comedy, drama, and action in each of our sequences. But what happens is that each of those scenes and sequences become convoluted, so it kind of loses its point or what it's trying to tell you about certain characters. So when you're boarding out a scene, start thinking about what to prioritize, whether it's a character's emotional arc, whether it's emphasizing a single character's introduction, or you just want to showcase action, and how that action elevates the story. Understanding the point of your scene can help you deliver better boards or better shot choices that actually help push the story forward or emphasize the story. Weaker characters are generally shot with a higher angle shot. Dominating characters are shot with a low angle shot. You can make a scene feel emotionally chaotic and claustrophobic if the boards sort of resemble that. Or you can make a character feel alone and tiny in the world by making that character really tiny in the composition with just big negative space. There's a saying, when you look at your script, read in between the lines, meaning find the actual emotional value behind the story and the plot, and what is the main emotional point that you're trying to get across. And that's why I think everyone should start writing their sequences beforehand. Now let's talk about planning for the actual storyboarding process. I think with storyboarding, you kind of do need to plan and establish a lot of things, whether it's a character's emotional arc, whether it's emphasizing a single character's introduction, or you just want to showcase action, and how that action elevates the story. Understanding the point of your scene can help you deliver better boards or better shot choices that actually help push the story forward or emphasize the story. Weaker characters are generally shot with a higher angle shot. Dominating characters are shot with a low angle shot. You can make a scene feel emotionally chaotic and claustrophobic if the boards sort of resemble that. Or you can make a character feel alone and tiny in the world by making that character really tiny in the composition with just big negative space. There's a saying, when you look at your script, read in between the lines, meaning find the actual emotional value behind the story and the plot, and what is the main emotional point that you're trying to get across. And that's why I think everyone should start writing their sequences beforehand. Now let's talk about planning for the actual storyboarding process. I think with storyboarding, you kind of do need to plan.
자, 그럼 이제 여기까지 좀 볼게요.